The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you ask this on your own, or did others tell you about me?" Pilate replied, "I am not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not from this world. If my kingdom were from this world, my followers would be fighting to keep me from being handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from here." Pilate asked him, "So you are a king?" And Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice." The Gospel of the Lord. Friends, as I began my reflection this week on today's homily, I thought about kings, and every king has a throne. Thrones symbolize a king's power and authority. From his throne, the king administers justice, conducts diplomatic negotiations, receives petitions, and issues his commands. The existence of a throne reminds a king's subjects that the king is not just another citizen. He is the ruler. He is the Lord, the sovereign. He has been given a task of guiding the nation the way a ship's captain guides his ship. The throne is the symbol of his unique royal identity. And the type of throne that a particular king possesses reflects the type of kingship: benevolent or violent, aloof or compassionate. He strives to live it out. Now, our King, Jesus Christ, the eternal King of life, history, and the entire universe, has a throne that is absolutely one of a kind. No other king in all of human history has chosen such a throne. What is that throne? We all know it. It presides in every Catholic church. Often it presides in our own house. It is a sign by which we are welcomed into God's family and is made citizens of the everlasting kingdom. It has been the mark of every Christian since the time of the catacombs. Christ's throne is the cross. That's Christ's throne. This throne is different from and superior to every other throne. There are three things that I could speak about and talk about regarding Christ's throne, the cross: position, poor material, or location. But today I want to spend most of my time looking on the position of Christ's throne. Instead of being a throne that a king sits on in a position of power, our king is one that lays down on his throne in a position of weakness. Those of you who have seen the movie of the Passion of Christ will remember that heart-wrenching scene of the crucifixion. In that scene, after Jesus reached the top of the hill of Calvary, which he has been carrying this heavy cross, he falls to the ground, and the cross falls to the ground. And you see the cross hit the ground, and the dust jump up from the weight of the cross. And he falls himself to the ground, exhausted from a sleepless night, his trials, his scourging, and his long agonizing walk carrying this heavy cross. He is so weak, friends, that he can't even get up. So he crawls to the cross. And over the cross, he falls onto the cross and barely able to lift himself up, flat on his back. And the soldiers begin to nail his hands and his feet to the cross. And so even when he's lifted up on the cross, he is still in a real sense lying down, helpless and weak on his throne. He is not asserting himself. He is surrendering himself. He is not lording it over his subjects, but he's giving himself to them. As he explained in John 15:13, and I quote, "No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." Contrast this with almost any other famous throne throughout human history. The Emperor Charlemagne came to mind for me because I had an opportunity when I went to Germany to see Charlemagne's throne. And his throne is a simple marble throne, but it's position, because on the last of 7 large marble steps, he sits there on his throne. When petitioners approach Charlemagne, their heads would be even with his feet as he sits there impressively, arrayed like a god. In the case of earthly kings, the throne always symbolizes earthly power. And yet, earthly kings and earthly kingdoms always pass away, while Christ's kingdom continues to grow and to spread, and will continue to do so forever. Our Lord's kingdom is not a passing of power, of politics. It's about the everlasting, redeeming power of divine love. That's what this feast is about. As he explained in today's gospel, my kingdom is not of this world. My kingdom is not of this world. And the position of his throne proves that point. On Friday, I was reminded of Pope Francis in 2016 when he was ending the year of mercy on the Feast of Christ the King. He gave a sermon at that closing, and I kept a copy of it. And I went back to it, and I want to share a little bit of what Pope Francis said back in 2016. And I quote, Jesus' reign is truly not of this world, but for the reason, as St. Paul states in Colossians 1:13-14, we find redemption and forgiveness. For the grandeur of his kingdom is not power as defined by the world, but the love of God, a love capable of encountering and healing all things. Christ lowered himself to us out of this love. He lived our human misery. He suffered the lowest point of our human condition: injustice, betrayal, abandonment. He experienced death, the tomb, and even hell. And so our King went to the ends of the universe in order to embrace and save every living being. He did not condemn us, nor did he conquer us, and he never disregarded our freedom, but he paid the way with humble love that forgives all things, hopes all things, sustains all things. This love alone overcame and continues to overcome our worst enemies: sin, death, and fear. Friends, this is what the church wants to remind us today. To know, love, and follow Jesus is the only path to the fullness of life and meaning. Only through him and with him and in him can we become what we were created to be, what is in the depths of our hearts we long for. Today, as we continue this Eucharist, let us renew our gratitude and confidence in this King whose throne is the cross. I want to finish off by, many of you know I grew up here at St. Anne's. And every Sunday we'd come to church and sit at the second post there. The Goyeau family would sit right there. And when I was young, there was a cross on this post here. And I remember as a little boy, before my first Holy Communion, I asked my father, why is Jesus up there? And I never forgot this. He said, because he loves you. He died for you. And Gary, never forget that. That's what this feast is about. Don't forget that.